bypass, almost died. He says, okay, Doc, when can I get back to working out? When can I get back in the ring? You had a heart attack. You can't do that anymore. Your life's over. He says, well, thanks for the good news, Doc. So he starts thinking about life and what's important to him. And he goes over to his daughter, who's probably about 25 years old, who he hasn't seen in years and has never been there for him. He tries to reconcile. And they go for a walk on this boardwalk off the West Coast. And he sits her down and he's crying. He says, you know, I don't want you to hate me. I'm not asking you to love me or forgive me. I just don't want you to hate me. Because I've had things put in perspective. And he goes on, he's trying to live the proper life, and he's working full-time at co-op in the meat department now, and life just seems to be getting harder and harder. And then one night, he sleeps in and forgets he had a dinner date with his daughter, and he goes over there late, and she's just livid. She's yelling at him, and she's screaming at him, saying every word that you could think of. I hate you, I hate you. And he's grabbing on her, don't you touch me, and he pulls her down because he overpower her, and she says, you know what, I don't care. I don't hate you. I just don't care. I never want to see you again. Get out. It kind of shows him slowly walk out to his van. He goes back home and he's just like, what's happening? Next scene, the next day at work, and this woman's giving him trouble. And his boss is always riding and just, you know, calling him a fairy and, pardon the expression, faggot and all this kind of different stuff because he's a wrestler and he wears tights, you know. And he's just giving him a real hard time. He's just letting him slide off his shoulder and off his back. He says, okay, you know, I can make it through, whatever. And then something pushes him over the edge and he quits. You know, he cut his thumb in the meat grinder. And he just loses it. And he's just flipping out. He's throwing a temper tantrum. He's ripping the shelves down in the co-op's. I quit. This is stupid. And he calls his manager up again. He says, I'm ready for the last big one. Because he knows if he goes back in the ring, he's going to have a heart attack. His heart can't take it. But he goes anyway. And then right as he's about to go out for his big entrance into this big finale match they've had built up for a long time, his girlfriend comes by and she says, whoa, wait. You know, there's things worth living for. He says, no one gives a dang about me. No one cares. No one cares. My daughter's abandoned me. You don't care. She says, I'm here, aren't I? And he just quickly turns away and he goes back into the ring. And the whole match, you can see him kind of like slowing down and clutching his heart. At the end of the move, he jumps up on the turnbuckle and he does his signature move, the ram dive, and throws his fist up on his head and dives on the guy who's laying down. But he's crying, he's got all these tears in his eyes, he's kind of looking around, because he knows this is it. And all the people are standing and applauding. But that was his call. That was what he was good at. And he wasn't going to let anything stop him from doing that. You know, the other week I was watching a video on YouTube. I don't know if anyone's heard of Shawn Michaels, speaking of wrestling. But he, back in the late 80s, mid-90s, all the way up to current events, he's one of the top performers and athletes ever. I mean, this guy is good at wrestling. He's a smaller guy, he was more athletic, so he could do a bunch of the turnbuckle moves and do flips and cartwheels and sweet kicks to the face, and he was the guy for a long time. And he was always the object of sexual lust. That was his shtick. You know, when he was out there, he was the guy that was, you know, I'm the eye candy, look at me. And then 1999, he got dumped over the top rope, landed on the middle of his back onto a piece of wood table, and broke his spine. This ended his career and almost ended his life. You know, but his wife, who had prayed so earnestly that her husband would come to know the Lord that we know and that she knows. And through that time of healing, as he was able to walk again, going through rehab, he found the Lord. He opened up the door. So this whole video I was watching was his testimony of who the Lord was and how he was working in his life. He'd been a Christian for 4 years now, up to this day. And I thought that was so cool. And he's talking and he says, you know, thank God for my wife, my partner. She was unevenly yoked with a loser and a wretch like me. Because through her prayers and her consistency, God got hold of me and healed him. The man has no spinal damage, has no scar tissue, and he's back wrestling now, which is an impossibility. The doctor said this can't happen. You know, they had no explanation for it. But God said, you're going to go back there. Even though you're not sure about it, because I know what that company stands for. But you're going to go back there, and you're going to serve me the rest of your days. You're going to shout from the mountaintops that Jesus Christ is Lord in everything you do and say. And He is. I mean, I used to watch Shawn Michaels back in Vegas. He was one of the best guys out there. Now he's in his mid-40s, still keeping up these guys who are my age, all roided up and built like tanks, but he's still keeping up and he's able to do it. But every time he comes out there to his music, he drops to his knees and he looks up and he just thanks and he prays. And he's not shy about it. That is his shtick now. They've worked that into his character, that he's the Christian. But he's still popular and cool. He's still the fawns, because Christianity isn't all about the rules and the regulations. Okay, well, your life sucks now, so you're going to have to do this and this. If it tastes good, spit it out, the whole spiel that Mike Warnke does. If it looks good, close your eyes kind of thing. And if it, if it sounds good, don't think about it. But he's out there doing his thing, and he's good at it because he's got a God-given gift for the Lord. And he says, I was so scared going back there. He says, the Lord just brought me back to Joshua. And Joshua was so scared to lead his people into the promised land because Moses couldn't even do it. And Moses is the guy who's been the head, the figurehead before, right before the Lord, the kind of interpreter for years. And he's not allowed to go in, and now I'm chosen to lead this? No thanks, I don't want this. And God says, take courage, have faith, for I am with you. Take courage, have faith. And at the end he repeats it. I command you, take courage, have faith, for I am with you, for I am God. The living, true God. I am with you. There is nothing that can stand in my way. And we look forward to the New Testament. His strength becomes perfect in our weakness. There is nothing that we cannot overcome through Jesus Christ. Because the Jews couldn't condemn him. The flogging couldn't stop him. The grave couldn't hold him. And his truth cannot be contained. Because his word is living, his word is true. You look at the Bible, it's not just a book full of words and stories and prophecies. It's words that are living and true and that have breath and that have life. And when you read it, it points forward to something more. It points to the living God. And you can't help but see him through all of the Testament, the Old and the New. When you look at the Old Testament, it's pointing forward to something that they didn't have, something they needed. And generations later, it was completed through Jesus Christ. And now can be transcended through us to our next generation through the Holy Spirit. It's uncontainable. It's uncontainable. There's nothing that can stop this. But sometimes it gets hard. James Hetfield from Metallica said, waiting for the one, the day that never comes. When you stand up and feel the warmth of the sunshine that never comes. No sunshine never comes. Just keep praying, just keep waiting. And that's the chorus. I don't think he has an idea, maybe I'm wrong, maybe he does, but what he's saying, but that's so true. Because we know, not just with our minds, but our hearts, because his word and his truth live in us. And nothing can hold us back. Whether it's physical oppression from the enemy, or spiritual and emotional tear down, nothing can hold us back. And you look at Burma, what's going on over there. The Christians are being slaughtered by the thousands at a time by the military government that's taken over. Just because they're Christians. You have little sections of people that are barely making, women, children, and men, barely holding it together. In comes the gunfire, just level. And the government is not only just eliminating these people, but they've downgraded them almost to the level that the Jews were at in World War II, which means their life has no value. So you've got these soldiers with free reign thinking that they're God over these people. So they'll take some tweezers and start ripping out toenails and fingernails for fun, just to see what happens. These are guys that are going to pull out their bayonets and slowly sink it into you, just to see how long it's going to take for you to die. They're going to rape the women and some of the children. And if they're not dead, they'll throw them in a big pit of fire just to burn the bodies to get them out of the way. Just because they're Christian.